Golly, I hope you guys like chit chats because this is going to be a long one and it's going to be all about me. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or to it if this is the first time you're seeing my face. If it is, this might be an interesting one because I mostly have updates for my current subscribers, but you're welcome to join along and see how I'm doing in life because I do have some life updates. I am also doing some embroidery right now, which I will explain later in the video, but I do have some life and channel updates for you guys, so let's just hop into it. All right, so as you guys saw by the thumbnail, I got a part-time job scooping ice cream. Which is kind of random, but I've actually been sort of alluding to it for the past couple of weeks. Essentially, I have been trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, and if you're not aware, earlier this year, I quit my corporate job to pursue the entertainment industry. I just didn't think I wanted to be in marketing anymore, and I wasn't really sure what my next step was going to be, but I had plenty of savings due to the pandemic where I was living with my parents and kind of had a little nest egg, and then I was supplementing my income with various modeling and acting and social media gigs, and so I was doing that for about a year because I wanted to give myself time to explore the entertainment industry because that's where a lot of my interests lied, and see what I wanted my next step to be. But here we are about a year later and the money has kind of run out. And so I was faced with this crossroads of, do I start applying for cushy corporate jobs again? Should I go back to my old job? Or should I keep pursuing this career field here in LA and see where it takes me? And I was kind of assessing a lot of my interests, passions, and where I wanted my life to go. And I just wasn't ready to give up. I wasn't ready to say, dang, I didn't make it in a year. I didn't get my big break. So time to give up. And so I didn't want to. But I need to pay rent somehow. So I wanted to apply for some part-time jobs. Now, what's funny about this is that this is going to sound so lazy, but I truly wanted the most brainless job that was humanly possible. I have a history of serving. As you guys know, I've done a ton of serving story times. But serving's really hard. You have to memorize menus. You have to deal with angry customers. It was just like very stressful and so much anxiety that I was like, no, I can't go back to serving. Maybe I could be a coffee barista. That sounds kind of fun. No, that's also memorizing a lot of orders and doing a lot of work for not that much pay. So I really just wanted a part-time job that was just going to be easy. And I found this ice cream scooping job and I was like, oh, that's perfect. All I have to do is scoop ice cream, count me in. Now I'm not going to reveal the name of it because I don't want you guys, I don't know, coming to find me or something. But it is here in LA. I have been working there for about a month now. And it's been really cool because not only are the coworkers amazing, but the job is super fun. I didn't realize how much I missed human interaction after spending essentially 3 years holed up in my house or my apartment. Working from home really showed me that I kind of need that outlet to get a lot of my energy out and just talk to people, but I also just love customer service. But what's interesting about this ice cream job is before, when I was a server, if you get an angry customer, you have to deal with them for the next hour. But with this, first of all, there's no angry customers, it's ice cream. But it's like if you get somebody who's a little impatient with the line or doesn't really like the flavor, they're gone in 3 minutes, and then that's it. So my mood isn't affected. I also get my steps in, and it's just been really fun. And I don't know, I'm kind of excited to continue it just because it's a good way to do something at night that's not just scrolling on my phone, and I'm making a little bit of money out of it. Now, some downsides to this, which are obviously I was aware of, is that it is minimum wage, which is totally fine because the goal isn't to make a lot of money. The goal is to just make enough to pay my rent. Yeah, I really do need to pay my rent though. Well, we'll see how this goes. But what I'm noticing after working at this job for a month is how much it has really impacted my time management skills. This past year as a content creator, part-time model, whatever you want to call it, I was really bad about sitting around all day being like, all right, I got to film this video, edit this video, but I'm tired right now. I'll get to it later. And then I don't. And then at 7 p.m., the lighting's gone, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I kind of wasted the day. well, I'll try again tomorrow. And then I would just fall into this cycle of not really getting anything done on time, not being very motivated. I was also having a lot of mental health issues, which kind of impacted that. And so getting this part-time job, I've noticed how much better my organization and time management skills have been. You know, I will be like, oh shoot, I work at 6 tonight. So I really only have 6 hours to film and edit this video. All right, let's get it done. And then I get it done, and then I start the second part of my day, which again has been so beneficial because the hours from 6 to midnight that I'm now working, I'm not gonna lie, I was spending on TikTok or watching Netflix and not really doing anything. So it's kind of like I'm swapping that bad habit for a good habit that now I get to make a little extra side income from. So that has been really cool. And that's the ice cream update, I guess, is that I'm a little ice cream scooper now, and I think it's really fun. But what I've learned from this past year and the process of me getting this little part-time ice cream scooper job is I have learned a lot about myself and what I want to do with my future. So this past year, like I mentioned, I was exploring the entertainment industry, and I've learned what I liked and didn't like about it. I did some acting gigs. I took some acting classes. I had a small part in a little indie movie, which was really cool, but I didn't like it. I didn't like not playing myself, and I don't think I was very good at it. And I didn't like acting. I got a modeling agent. I did some modeling gigs here and there, and those were fun. Those were really cool and kind of validating. But I didn't love it. It was just a way to make some money on the side. And I think I enjoyed networking and talking to other people more than I actually enjoyed the modeling, which is fine. But I was like, I don't know if I see a career in that. I was on Instagram and TikTok, and I tried doing the influencer thing where I did a couple of sponsorships. And like, again, that was nice for a little side income. But I didn't love it. I mean, I like social media and I like producing content and taking fun photos and making silly TikToks. But again, it was just one of those other things that I was like, is this a career? Or is this just me sharing my life and other people enjoy following along? In doing all of these things, I realized the one thing that I really loved was YouTube. And I think it's because on YouTube, I get to be my most authentic self. I get to sit down and talk to you guys, tell these fun stories, and have full creative control about the persona that I'm putting out there. However, the issue is that lately, I haven't felt that passionate about it. I haven't felt that desire like I used to, where I wake up and I can't wait to film. I can't wait to script out a video or do research or reach out to other people for other content ideas. And a little bit of part of that, I'm not gonna lie, is that I've been doing this for a little while now, and every time I put out a video, I'll go and check the analytics and see how it's doing. And YouTube tells you right away when you open up your analytics, like, this one is not doing well, better luck next time. And it's a little discouraging, but you just gotta keep up with the habit and enjoy making the content. But I think that's also where I got led astray, is that I stopped enjoying making the content, and here's why. When I first started this channel, what I thought it would be would be me just trying silly new little activities and kind of providing my funny commentary on me doing that activity, and that people would tune in and would just enjoy whatever new activity I was up to and just the funny things I had to say about it. I actually drew a lot of inspiration from the Try Guys, which is so interesting because they're in the news a lot right now, and it's just like, oh, how weird. I've been watching their content for years because I really enjoyed the content they were doing, where they'd be like, okay, here's a drag queen. She's gonna teach us how to do drag makeup, and we're gonna try it ourselves. And then along the way, they're just making funny jokes and just being those personas where people enjoyed watching them, whatever they were doing. So I did a couple of those videos, and they were silly, of like, my mom teaches me how to parallel park. I try a bunch of TikTok clothing hacks, or we're gonna test some egg making hacks, just silly things. And those didn't really perform well, and I was like, well, let me see what my audience would like. So then I tried doing what I call my Dabbler series, and this is where I would kind of have a guest on my show, whether it was a sibling or a really close friend, and they would show me something that they were interested in, and I would dabble in it. With, again, that same idea that I was just providing funny commentary, and we were just The content was us having a really good time. So I had, my brother-in-law come on and he showed me how to make coquito, which is Puerto Rican kind of horchata. I had my brother on and we ate spicy food because that's what he really liked. I had his girlfriend on and she showed me Korean food because that's what she really enjoyed. And so I loved this idea because I love interviewing people. I have this background in journalism. And again, it was that concept of me doing an activity and just being a little silly goose during it. But again, this content didn't really take off. People weren't tuning in because they liked me and not so much my guests. And so I adapted again. That's when I did 1 or 2 story times. And that was the first time where my content took off. The very first story time that I did about dating took off. It's still to this date my most popular video. And people would tell me, oh my gosh, you're such a good storyteller. Give us more stories. And I was kind of like, oh, that's what you guys want? I love telling stories. Absolutely, here's more. And so that's where my channel has gone. I love telling stories. I do my secondhand story times, which are not stories of myself personally, but of other crazy stories. I was doing dating story times. I was doing more tame and mundane story times because I never wanted to embellish or be outlandish about, my Uber driver kidnapped me sort of thing. And I've been really enjoying that. And that's kind of where my content has been. But lately, I don't know, I've just kind of been taking a look at my content and realizing all I'm doing is just sitting down and telling you guys stories, which is cool, but that could be a podcast. This is YouTube and there's some sort of visual element to it. But then I was also just sitting there telling you a story, reading my notes, and then being like, all right, Toodles, see you later. And that was it. And I stopped feeling creatively excited because I enjoyed doing the research of these stories and talking to people, but I just wasn't getting anywhere in terms of making it more interesting for YouTube itself. And so just a few days ago, I was doing some SEO research and I typed into YouTube the word Storytime and none of my videos popped up. All that popped up were people doing something while telling stories. There was slime story time where they're making slime. There's a bunch of makeup and true crime channels, which again has its own set of ethics that I might not agree with. People doing makeup, people doing mukbangs and telling these stories. And it was kind of like a 2-for-1 of combining their interest with these stories that people tune in to listen to. And so I kind of realized, well, why can't I do that, but do my own version of it? And kind of combine what I thought my original channel was gonna be with these story times. And that kind of got me excited about YouTube again. I have a list of videos that I wanna make, and so it was kind of like, oh my gosh, what can I be doing while telling this story? So that kind of what comes into play with this embroidery that I'm doing is that I'm doing something on camera, so it's not like I'm just sitting here talking to you, but in the future, I'm not really gonna do it in this video, I'll be doing that and still interjecting my silly little commentary, but then I'll also have a fun little craft to show at the end of this. And it's not always gonna be a craft. I used to make coffee on camera, or there was one time where I was painting a nutcracker while a little bit tipsy. So it might be more things like that, where I'm still telling a story, but there's something else that you can watch if you want to watch. Same for like those makeup channels. Are you really tuning in to see their final makeup look? I don't know, maybe. But for me, it's more of just like looking up every now and then and seeing the progress of whatever project that they're working on. And then at the end, seeing the final result and being like, oh, pretty. And that was a good story too. So I think that's what I'm going to do with my story times moving forward. It will not change the content at all. You guys will still get these crazy, silly stories, and it'll still be all of my personality. But I just want to be doing something during it. Not only to practice my multitasking skills, because honestly this video filming has been way long, but it's because I'm taking these long breaks focusing on like getting it through the hole. Nice. So that won't change for you guys. However, I also had another epiphany that is probably going to change the future trajectory of my channel. So as I mentioned, YouTube is the one thing of all of those entertainment kind of gigs that I've enjoyed the most. However, it hasn't really taken off. And it's not like I want my channel to blow up and I'm a social media star and the next, big name in YouTube. That was never the goal. It was always just about, I would love to make an income off this. I would love to be my own boss and just have people tune in with whatever I enjoy doing. And that hasn't necessarily happened, which is totally fine because I so value the community that I've created and the engagement that I get from you guys that I am totally fine with where it is right now. I also realized that say if my channel were to blow up, I start making a lot of money off this and I become this big YouTuber, that job is finite. That is temporary. I watch so many video essays of just, the rise and fall of this YouTuber and how their fame and success only lasts for a couple of years. And so I'm preemptively like, okay, let's say I were to be successful. What happens next? You can't do YouTube for forever. People aren't going to care for forever. And if they do, it's going to ebb and flow, and that's not a reliable source of income. So I really had to reassess what I want to do long term and what my dream job is. And I looked up at my vision board, which is funny because this is like the second time I'm mentioning my vision board in a couple of videos. But on my vision board, I have on there one of my long-term jobs would to be the host of a show like Localish. Now, Localish is a community show. You might have it late at night on Channel 2, where essentially a host goes to these small businesses and is like, all right, we're here at Pink's Hot Dogs. They're going to show us how to make a chili cheese dog. And then the host goes back there and is like, whoa, so I put a whole dollop on? I sprinkle the cheese on? Oh my God, this is so crazy. And then after they get like a behind the scenes look, they sit down with the owner and interview them and kind of just highlight the business. I love this job. I envy this job because I love the idea of not only highlighting small businesses, but going out and interviewing people and still doing fun things. And like I mentioned, I just enjoy sitting here doing little crafts with you guys and giving commentary. I would love to do it on a bigger scale where I'm highlighting a small business and being like, okay, we're here donating turkeys for Thanksgiving. Tell me about your nonprofit organization. So I realized that something along those lines is my long-term goal. I want to be a host. I want to interview people. But I have no portfolio to show that. This YouTube channel is me telling these stories, which is all fine and dandy, but it's not highlighting any of those interviewing or activity-based sort of content. So I realized, all right, maybe I need to bring back that Dabbler series where, I bring somebody on, they highlight their interest, and then we do it. However, I realized that there's no story time element to that. And that's become so much of my brand and so much of my passion that why don't I just create my own version of Localish, but combining all of those things that I've mentioned. So my idea is I have somebody on, let's say a person who's really into horses. That's their passion. I go to their horse stable. We go out, ride horses. There's some funny little commentary. There's me freaking out about how freaking big horses are. And that's a little segment of the show. Then we sit down with this person, and instead of highlighting their business, which of course I'll highlight their passion or their business at the beginning, but I sit down and interview them about a crazy story related to this passion, this job, or this interest of theirs. So after we're done riding horses, I sit down with this person and we start talking about the time they got bucked off a horse and went into a coma and almost died from it. That's an outlandish one. A more tame and mundane one, because again, I would want to incorporate some of those stories still, is maybe a guy loves beer and he's a beer aficionado and we go to one of his favorite breweries, but then he tells me the story of how he took a girl there on his first date and it was a really bad date sort of thing. And I don't know, I really got excited about this idea because it felt like so me. It felt like I got to interview somebody. I got to dabble in their interest, but then I got to talk about another crazy story. And again, from the perspective of that person. I do these secondhand story times where I'm telling stories on behalf of people, but I would love to hear it from their own mouth. I would love to hear how they get excited or they interject their own emotion into it. And I kind of guide them along into telling that story in an interesting way. So I think maybe starting next year, because I don't know how much time I'll have now with this new job and just kind of getting all this together, but I think that's the direction I would want my channel to go. Not only because it combines all of the things I'm most passionate about, it's a version of this Localish show that I so love, but it also will serve as a portfolio for my next step after YouTube. I just don't really expect YouTube to be a long-term career choice for me. I really need to use it as a stepping stone into my next step. And I think this is the best way to go about it. Now, I envision this to be a little bit further down the road and a long process, because doing something like that is going to take a lot of time and money that I don't necessarily have. Because if I have another person on my show, okay, I need to invest in new mics. If we're going to be walking around doing an activity, I'm going to need a camera person to help me film all of those scenes and kind of follow us around. I would love to invest in a second camera so I can get a dual vision of the things that we're doing. You know, if we're sitting here cooking and they're telling me a story, I'd love to get an overhead shot of the actual cooking that we're doing and switch back and forth. Maybe one day I'd like to get an editor, because I'm not a strong editor and I don't know how to combine all of this new footage that I'm getting. Not only that, but it would probably involve me doing a lot more coordinating, researching these stories to make sure that it's an interesting story that you guys would want to hear, and not just oh, you know, I went to college for this and I'm so excited to start this small business. Like, no, I want crazy and outlandish stories that are interesting for you guys to hear, that is going to make you want to tune in every time. And then possibly traveling. You know, I have friends in Arizona where if they have a crazy good story, I will make my way out there just so this story can be told. I can do their activity and highlight their business, but that also costs a lot of time and money. So I think right now what I need to do is start small and work on the concept before I really go big. You know, I don't want to go to somebody's office and tour their office and interrupt their regular daily life just for a boring story kind of thing. So it honestly might just start out with me having my brother on again, and we're doing a silly little activity and he's telling me one of his stories, just so I could work on the concept, sell the idea, and then start reaching out to people for maybe some of their more crazy and outlandish stories. But I really just want to start working towards that. And I wanted to tell you guys about it now in case my content in the future changes, but also just the subtle changes that you're seeing. You know, I want to practice my multitasking, doing an activity while still talking. I want to practice my editing, working with different sets, kind of interviewing other people. And I would hope that you would tune in for the stories, even if I'm not necessarily telling them myself, but making sure that I'm guiding them into making it interesting. And as for my regular story times, those will absolutely continue. I will continue telling my stories. I will continue with the secondhand story times. I just might be doing something during it. I might be cross-stitching or knitting or baking, but it'll just add a little bit of visual element and kind of stay on par with those channels that are doing makeup, that are doing slime, doing mukbangs, and just making sure that there's that little extra something for you guys to tune into. I could also use your help on like a name, because this is another thing that I've struggled with, is that should I make the craft in the title every time so it's SEO friendly? So like sewing story time for this one, or should I have a cool little name for this segment every time? So it might not be a searchable, but it's a series. Like, I don't want to say crafting story time because it might not always be craft. I love the term dabbler because I'm dabbling in sewing, I'm dabbling in baking sort of thing, but that's not very search friendly. Let me know your guys' thoughts if you have any good ideas on that front. Or if you have any good ideas for this potential show that I'm working on, you know? Dabbler story times is another thing I like, but that's not very catchy. I like those words, but I don't know. Let me know if you guys have any cool ideas. I would also think that like if I ever started a brand or like, I don't know, any sort of business, I would call it Toodles. Isn't that cute? I don't know, so maybe some way I can incorporate Toodles. Let me know if you have any ideas or inspiration, because I could really use it. And so that's the end of this really long chit chat. If you guys stuck till the end, I really appreciate it, because it just means that you're supporting me, you're supporting my career goals, and you just like hanging out with me. And I'm excited to kind of indulge in these hyperfixations. I did a video a while ago where I talk about all my random hyperfixations, and a lot of them were crafts and just random things. And so now I get to bust out some of that old equipment and give it another go. I will also leave down below in my description box some of the other videos that I'm talking about where I'm either trying a craft or activity and reacting to it, or I am interviewing people for that Dabbler series like I mentioned. So feel free to check out that playlist, but I guess the main update is that I'm excited for my silly little ice cream scooper job and how it has really changed my mindset and made me more focused on my career. So my career isn't to scoop ice cream for forever, it's to really get started in this business. But to commemorate this start, I made a little ice cream embroidery thing with cute little pom-poms on top. Hang on, get a better look, because if I'm gonna be doing crafts and activities, you gotta be able to see the final product. So this is technically like half cross stitch, half embroidery, but I don't know, I kind of just made it my own design. So I'm really excited for this next step in my career journey, and I have all of you to thank for your support. But that's gonna be it for me. I will see you guys in the next video. Toodles! All right, let's get this thread started. Also, I have the outline done. I did it last night because if I tried doing it on camera, it would just take me years and then I'd be wasting film space being silent trying to focus. So I started it. Also, no, I'm not wearing this bandana to hide my nasty roots, so mind your business.